welcome back to my channel. I'm Samya aka Pretty Paperback, and today, by the title of the video, you already know what this video is going to be about. I have decided to read and review all the Colleen Hoover books, spoiler free by the way, and I want to see why Colleen Hoover is so much hated on Bookstagram and Booktube. Colleen Hoover is one such author who is very controversial. Her books are either loved and praised by people or are either considered as toxic. And I really never got to make up my own mind what I actually feel about her book because I never gave it a go. So I have decided to read all the Colleen Hoovers that are in my TBR, and I will read and review it for them spoiler free. So, without any further ado, let's get into the video. So, the first book that I have decided to pick from my Colleen Hoover book collection is All Your Perfects. I finally finished reading All Your Perfects by Colleen Hoover. So, Quinn and Graham wedding is almost on the verge of breaking, and there are a lot of reasons and events that have happened throughout the book, which readers will get to know. But the main contributor to their unsuccessful wedding is infertility. The book is written from the perspective of now and then. In one chapter, you see a couple who is madly, hopelessly in love with each other, and in the very next chapter, they are breaking up, and you see the relationship almost very different to the previous chapter you were reading. Okay, I think the lighting is little better now because the sun keeps playing hide and seek with the clouds, and just ignore it, please. So, coming back to our book, Being a woman, I surely can understand what Quinn must be going through. While dealing with her infertility and was trapped in a loveless marriage, I can feel what she was going through, and I'm not gonna lie, at some point I started feeling bad for her, but the story writing skills do not do it for me. The way this book is written in the past and the present format do not intrigue any emotions out of me. As soon as I started investing my time into Quinn's character, I started investing my emotions, my time, and started to feel bad about her. The story moved on to the next chapter and they are the happy couple again. So, unfortunately, the writing style did not provoke any emotions out of me. The reason why I am rating this book so low is because this book has two tropes that I absolutely hate. So, because of these two tropes, I'm rating this book 2 stars out of 5. Reviewers often try to convince readers to read this book because it is emotional. Sure, it was an emotional book. At one point, I started feeling bad for Quinn and I started investing my time into her character. But this book is not something that will make you cry or will take you to an emotional coaster ride, because events after events you can predict what is going to happen next. If you have read All Your Perfects by Colleen Hoover and you want to read something like this, so I will recommend you two books that you can read which are somewhat like that. Okay, so the first book that I want to recommend is The Perfect Us by Durjoy Datta. When I was reading All Your Perfects by Colleen Hoover, this book somehow reminded me of it because it was somewhat on the same lines. In The Perfect Us by Durjoy Datta, the couple was dealing with infertility issues, and this story was about them, their issues, their insecurities, and things they were going through together. So, if you have enjoyed All Your Perfects by Colleen Hoover, then you can give this book a go. Second book is by one of my favorite author, Taylor Jenkins Reid, After I Do. If you know me, you know that if Taylor Jenkins Reid write a stupid, boring economics article, I'm going to read it. And I recommend her books with all my heart. And if you are a Taylor Jenkins Reid fan, and if you have liked All Your Perfects, then you should read this one, After I Do. In this book, the male protagonist one day wakes up and tells her wife that he don't want to be with her anymore, and they are like kind of separating or they're giving it a break or something, and the story goes on like that. And reading All Your Perfects by Colleen Hoover somewhat reminded me of this book, and I recommend this book with all my heart. I read this book in 2020 or 2019, I don't remember exactly, but I am going to give this book another go, and I want to see that I rated this book 5 stars in 2019 and whether I still feel the same thing about this book or not. So I took a shower, had my dinner, and I'm finally continuing with my book. Although I have read a chunk of this book in the park, and only this much is left, and I may be able to finish it tonight, but I don't want to rush it. I want to enjoy the process of reading it, or rather rereading this book, because it's been a while that I've actually enjoyed reading a book. So, yeah.
It stops here, with me and you. It ends with us.
I finished reading It Ends With Us by Colleen Hoover yesterday and I shed a tear or two. And I know that I said that this vlog is going to be spoiler free, and it is. I'm not going to share the details of this book, although I know that everyone have already read this book, but still I'm going to keep it spoiler free. I strongly feel that this book deserves all the hype that it gets, but I do agree that this book has terrible writing. This book could have been a lot better if the writing was little better. I want to end this debate for once and for all that there is no Team Ryle. There is no Team Ryle. I don't know why people would come into my DMs and they're like, we stand for Team Ryle. And they will comment under my reels, Team Ryle. There is no Team Ryle, darling. You are just a hormonal teenager. Get over the fact. He's a domestic abuser who might have a shitty past. I respect that. But it is his therapist's job. Okay? There is no Team Ryle. The other thing that I want to emphasize is that this book isn't about Ryle, this book isn't about Atlas, this book is majorly focused on Lily. It was her who broke the pattern which went on from generation to generation. It happened to her mother and it was happening to her. And she was the one who broke the pattern, which is the hardest thing to do. So I really feel that this book was majorly focused on her. I will not consider it as a romance book. There was a romance on the side, but majorly it was everything she is dealing with. So I am rating this book 4 out of 5. I feel that this book could have been better if the writing was a little good, but overall I think that this book deserves a solid 4.5 stars. The next book that I'm picking up is Without Merit by Colleen Hoover. I actually have to clean my room, so I'm going to switch to an audiobook format. Yesterday, while I was shifting this bookshelf and doing all the other chores, I somehow managed to finish Without Merit by Colleen Hoover. This is a story about a girl called as Merit. She lives with a family in a repurposed church, and it if you look this book as a whole, I don't think it actually revolved around Merit. It was sort of a family drama. Don't get me wrong, I love family drama, but this was something way beyond. This book is way beyond normal. The family is very complicated. Merit, along with her parents and siblings, she lives in a repurposed church. Her cancerous ridden mother lives in a basement, and the father is married to the formal nurse of the mother. So now Merit is living with her two siblings, elder siblings, one stepmother, one half brother, a father, and a mother. And the story gets more complicated than this. There are two elder So there are two elder siblings who are older to Merit, and there is this one half brother. The two older siblings are perfect and very annoying, and this half brother isn't allowed to do or eat anything fun. So Merit developed this tendency of stealing trophies or buying trophies for her reputation's sake. Although, if you will read this book forward, you will see that this family's history, secrets get as complicated as it can. And when Merit decides to quit, by the way, make sure to read trigger warnings. Please, please, please make sure to read trigger warnings before reading this book. Colleen Hoover tried to write a complicated book with a dysfunctional family drama and everything, but as soon as the secrets are out, everything became normal within few days. And honestly, I don't think it was anything dysfunctional mess sort of a family. It was something like family has a lot of secrets. So yeah, and honestly, I did not like the secrets. It was something way beyond my imagination and something I do not want to read in my books. Decide to read this book, it could be a hit or a miss for you. For me, it was definitely a miss because Colleen Hoover tries to write about a lot of things. She tried to write about alcohol, drugs, then cancerous ridden mother, then a step brother and a stepmother, deep rooted psychological disorders, LGBTQ community. I feel that she was trying to write about a lot of things and she somehow mushed it up in one book. It's like too many cooks spoil the broth kind of a thing. So it was definitely a miss for me. And yeah, I'm sorry. I really wanted to like this book, but I'll rate it 1 out of 5 stars. And then yesterday I was not able to sleep, so I decided to give another audiobook a go and I finished reading Finding Cinderella by Colleen Hoover. It's a love story of Daniel and Six. Daniel falls for Six as soon as he laid eyes on her. It was a love at first sight. It is a very short romance book. I think I was listening to it as an audiobook format and it is hardly 4 hours long. And although it is written by Colleen Hoover, so you can expect a plot twist. But overall, I liked it and I will give it 3 stars out of 5. I want to keep this review spoiler free, that's why I'm not speaking much about this book. And honestly, if you are into Colleen Hoover books, you like short, cute, sort of a romance book which is very quick to read and very short and binge worthy, then go for this book. You might like it. Today I posted an Instagram story and I asked you guys which book should I read next, whether it is Ugly Love or November 9. And almost 500 of you chose Ugly Love. So my next read is going to be Ugly Love by Colleen Hoover. I started reading this book in the morning while having my morning coffee and I'm almost 100 pages in. This book has a trope that I absolutely hate, and the trope in this book is very similar to the trope in this movie. And I don't know why. What is wrong with you people? Why are you hyping this book up? Although I do love the chemistry between Tate and Miles, but I do not love the chemistry between Miles and his stepsister. It just get weirder and weirder. I would have never ever forgive them. For a moment, I really started to like Miles, but now I don't. Nope. If someone ever did this to me, I would have kicked them out of my house and from my heart real quick. I feel so bad for Tate right now. I cannot even express that in words. After reading this scene, if Tate decides to go back to Miles, I'll kill her. I'll kill her first. Like, now I get it. Why do you guys hate this book? I get it now. I started reading this book in the morning and I'm already finished with it, and by the length of it you can assume that this is a binge worthy book. It is written in a very simple language, so any beginner friendly 18 plus can read this book. And please check for the trigger warnings if you are planning to read this book, because it has quite some. uh, there were there was a trope that I dislike, and I do not hate this book, but I do not like it either. There were few things that were quite triggering. The trope, I dislike the trope which was between Miles and his stepsister. I do not like that trope. I hate that trope, and I hate it from the bottom of my heart, and I don't want to normalize that thing. So yeah, and the second thing that I honestly did not understood was the way they described the baby. If you know, you know. I will rate this book 3 stars out of 5 because there were quite few things that triggered me, and I do not like reading that in my books or even watching it in my movies. The first thing that triggered me was the trope. The trope between Miles and his stepsister is very disturbing, and I don't want to normalize that, and I will not normalize that. The second thing that I was actually, I don't know how to react to it, but the way they described the baby. If you know, you know. I don't want to give you the spoilers, but yes, like who says that? Like literally, who says that? As you can see that I started reading this book in the morning and I have already finished it. So it is a very binge worthy book. It is written in a very simple language, and there are so many plot twists, and the way it is written that it keeps you hooked to the very end. The other thing that I also want to point out that I am not okay teenagers reading this book, because there are a lot of perspectives and there are a lot of trigger warnings that goes around behind the book, which I don't think that any teenager is emotionally mature to understand it. I can say this because there are a lot of teenagers defending Ryle in my DMs and in my comment section, which actually shocks me. So yes, I don't recommend this to any teenager out there, and I don't recommend this book to any kid out there who is reading it, because I know there are people who are just 11 and 12 when reading Colleen Hoover. Although Colleen Hoover do attract a lot of newbies into this industry, I know there are so many people who have started reading and their first book is It Ends With Us. So I can give her that, but I'm still not okay teenagers and kids reading a book. I'm really sorry about the lighting because sun is kind of playing hide and seek with the clouds, and I'm really sorry about this sound because my neighbors are trying to build a palace. So yeah, it's been on for like 4 or 5 months. If you like my reading vlog and if you want to see more of it, then make sure to like, share, comment and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye.